Hello, teachers, parents, and educational leaders, and welcome to this episode of Breaking Down the B.E.S.T. Now, during this episode, you will get a peek into the members-only area where I have tons of resources to help you make math fun, make it click, and make it stick. There should be a link somewhere around this video where you can learn more. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's get to it, and let's break down the standard. Welcome to Breaking Down the B.E.S.T, a video series dedicated to breaking down Florida's best standards for math. So grab something to write with and maybe even a snack. This looks good. And don't forget to put a smile on your face. There you go, I see you. And let's dive into today's best standard. Hey everyone, my name is Sarah McCarthy and thank you for joining me as we break down the following standard. Today's standard is MA.5.FR.2.4 and that is to extend our previous understanding of division and explore the division of a unit fraction by a whole number and the reverse of a whole number by a unit fraction. So let's break that down a little bit more. So basically we're taking what we used to know about division and we are working with unit fractions. So that means that we need a 1 in the numerator and then we have a denominator divided by a whole number, and then the reverse of that would be a whole number divided by a unit fraction. Again, a unit fraction having a 1 in the numerator. By the way, this document that I'm marking up all over is not something that I have created. This is something that the Florida Department of Education creates and they release to the public to help teachers like us break down the standards. So in these episodes, we're going to take about half of the video to break down the standards, and then we'll pop over to the website for the second half of the video, and I'll show you the resources that you have available to you with this standard in your Taking on the B.E.S.T membership. So let's keep going. The benchmark clarifications say that we should be using manipulatives, drawing, and properties of operations to solve, and also taking a look at the situation involving operations, Appendix A, kind of showing you what kind of situations we need to be showcasing for students when it comes to division. Some related benchmarks are MA.5.NSO.2.2, that's division of whole numbers by 2-digit divisors. And we also have this standard 5.AR.1.3, which was division with unit fractions in real-world situations. So really, this standard that we're going over today, FR.2.4, should really be embedded with that AR.1.3 because one is just about the process and the other one implements it into a real-world situation. Where are they coming from? Well, in 4th grade, we had whole numbers times fractions and whole numbers times mixed numbers. And then next year in 6th grade, they will multiply and divide fractions more fluently and also have multi-step word problems with all 4 operations involving fractions and decimals. The purpose and instructional strategies section says that the purpose of this benchmark is for students to experience division with whole number divisors and unit fractions, or fractions that have a numerator of 1, and with unit fraction divisors and whole number dividends. This work prepares them for 6th grade where they're doing it fluently. This says down here that the expectation is not for students to use an algorithm, which when I show you McCarthy Math 155, there was an algorithm used there. When we're dividing with fractions, we keep the first one, change the operation to multiplication, and flip the divisor. We're not going to do that here. This is really focusing on modeling what's happening when we are dividing. And it says includes students using equivalent fractions to simplify answers. However, putting answers in simplest form is not the priority of the standard. Some common misconceptions or errors says that students believe that division always results in a smaller number. For years, the experience has been that we have a larger dividend. We divide by a divisor, and then we get a smaller quotient than what we had for the dividend, the original total. But right now, we're going to shatter that, really. It says, which is true when dividing a fraction by a whole number. When we do have a fraction and we divide it by a whole number, we are going to get a smaller quotient, but not when we're dividing a whole number by a fraction. using models, which we do in Taking on the B.E.S.T, will help students to develop an understanding that's needed when we get to that computation with fractions, especially in 6th grade. Down here are some instructional items and tasks that kind of show this standard in action, especially right here, like what is the quotient of 1/3 divided by 5, and how many fourths are in 8 wholes. We could find each of those by modeling with a visual model too. All right, so that's basically it for breaking down the standard. We know we're dividing a unit fraction by a whole number or vice versa. Let's go ahead and take a look at what you have access to with your Taking on the B.E.S.T membership. Here we are at mccarthymathacademy.com. You're going to click Members Enter here and select Taking on the B.E.S.T. You might be asked to log in there. We're going to click on 5th grade and your fractions. We're going to go all the way down to 5.FR.2.4, division with unit fractions. All right, so when we open this up, we have access to the bronze resources that have your video lessons and your student guides. They're notes, that's the note page that students can write on that go right along with the video lessons. We've got 1, 2, 3 video lessons there. The first one is dividing whole numbers by a unit fraction. The second one is dividing a unit fraction by a whole number, and then division with unit fractions, real world problems. So let's go ahead and just click on an episode so you can kind of see. Okay, so right here we have 2 wholes divided into thirds. When we take 2 wholes and we divide them into thirds, we have 6 equal pieces. So we're showing it with an area model, and then here with a number line. We have 2 wholes, each whole divided into thirds, and there are 6 total pieces. The visual models here will really help your students to understand what it is that we're doing, not focusing on the algorithm. Okay, and then here we have 1/3. Now we're placing the 1/3 in front for this one. 1/3 divided by 2 equals, so we have 1/3 that we're dividing into halves, and just considering one of those would be 1/6 of the whole that we had before, and showing it on a number line too. So the videos walk through step by step of what is expected. And then here, of course, we have our real world problem. So the whole point of the video lessons is to make it fun and to make it click, to make sure that students understand what's happening. But the expectation is not that they will have mastered the skill just by watching the videos. Mastery comes when we actually put it to practice on our own, right? Which is why there is the silver plan. Okay, the silver plan includes printables. So we'll click on those. All right, so here we have the bronze video lessons, and right behind it is that extra practice page. So here we're dividing whole numbers by unit fractions using the video lessons, and students can just record the notes down from the video. And then when they get here, they can try it on their own. Same thing here, video lesson, extra practice. And then we have the video lesson with the real world problems. One of them involving 5 being the dividend, and then this one is 1/5 being the dividend divided into 3, divided by 3. And then we have some extra practice there. Okay, after we have the video lesson, extra practice, video lesson, extra practice, we have a math mission. It's a math task with multiple parts to it. This says Malik's mom orders 4 pizzas for his birthday party. Part 1, if each whole pizza is cut into fourths, how many slices will be available? Include a visual model to represent your thinking. Part 2, if each whole pizza is cut into 8ths, how many slices will be available? Include a visual model to represent your thinking. Part 3, there will be 16 people at Malik's party. Which slicing option would be the best, to cut it into fourths or 8ths? And explain your thinking on the lines below. And I believe for this one, there is no right answer. The students just have to determine which one makes sense for the setting and just justify their answer. I think both of the answers could work. It's just really about explaining what they think for this one. Then we have the math misconception mystery. You can see it's a video lesson. It's an episode, so you just click play and I will guide you and your students through the entire process. First, students will solve this problem on their own, and then they'll watch as 4 characters solve that same problem. 3 of them will make a mistake, and only 1 of them will have the correct answer. And those characters are just me dressed up in silly costumes with silly accents, trying to make it fun. After they watch each character, they'll then discuss, decide, and justify who the most reasonable answer belongs to, and then evaluate the work of the other 3 characters on their detective report. And then if you're a gold member, you have access to everything that we've gone over so far, but you also have access to more. So let's see, you have a mini assessment, okay, a mini assessment, and it just says show what you know on there. So if you want to use this as a mini assessment, you can, or you can use it as extra practice, but the mini assessments contain 4 to 5 questions for each standard. There's a variety of question types for them to practice with, and it's all pertaining to that standard that we went over today with the unit fraction divided by a whole number or a whole number divided by a unit fraction. You also have an answer key for that mini assessment right here. The gold members also have the nice perk of having these breaking down the best videos right here with the standard, with all of the resources, and it's ad-free. These breaking down the best videos can also be found on YouTube. They just have ads, so it's just a nice little perk of being a gold member. But really the highlight of the gold plan is access to McCarthy Math 155. This is a daily math intervention with video lessons that are aligned to the Common Core standards. Now, if you've been practicing with the best standards and you know a little bit about the Common Core standards, you know that they have a lot of similarities that I knew that I needed to create a program dedicated just to the best standards. A lot of teachers and principals asked me to include the 155 in the gold package. The 155 stands for 155 video lessons in each grade level. So if we click on 5th grade and we go here, operations with fractions, well, you can see there's a bunch of different units. So if you know that you have students who need help with multiplication, division, order of operations, place value, decimals, all of that based on the Common Core standards, this is the place to go to get that extra practice in addition to those taking on the best video lessons. So if we click here at operation with fractions, you can see all of the different types. We've got adding fractions and mixed numbers, subtracting fractions and mixed numbers, multiplying fractions and mixed numbers as well, scaling and resizing. Okay. Fractions read as division, and here we have division with fractions. I'm going to click on it though because I want you to notice the difference in this for this particular standard. So this is kind of more of where we're going in 6th grade now, where it's more about the standard algorithm, where we keep that first number, we change the operation, and we flip the fraction. That's what's going to be discussed in McCarthy Math 155, which the best standard said, don't do that. Let's focus just on unit fractions. Notice that none of these are unit fractions. So you just have to be careful with what it is that you're pulling out of McCarthy Math 155. For this particular standard, it might not make a whole lot of sense to do the division aspect with this one, but there's plenty of other practice for other things. Like multiplication. If you have students who need help multiplying 3 digits times 2 digits, or up to 5 digits times 2 digits. There's so many video lessons here to help them to get better, to build their confidence with that. So I just like to point out what you need to be wary of when you're using McCarthy Math 155 to know that this standard for division with fractions isn't completely aligned to the best standards, and you might want to not use those because it might confuse your students. Okay, I think that's it for going over this standard for today. I hope it makes sense. I hope that you feel confident and ready to rock and roll with it, and that you know what you have access to with your taking on the best membership. Before we go, let me remind you that what you wake up and you choose to do every day with your life, it really does matter. Thank you so much for stepping up every day in front of your students and showing them what your best looks like. I know that you're busy, so I will see you in an episode real soon, okay? Bye! Okay, so I know that I just said goodbye for now, but I'm gonna ask you to do one more thing, okay? If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with your teacher friends or other leaders in education. That's how I get to continue doing what I love to do, which of course is supporting you all to the best of my ability. All right, for real now. Bye!